Hello, and welcome to another p+log. Don't know which one this is. I haven't done one in a while. It's been weeks, almost a month, so sorry about that. This kind of reflects my journaling. I haven't been journaling that much. But yeah, this p+log isn't really about anything specific, but just wanting to talk. I've been wanting to share my my essay that I wrote for philosophy through film. We got to pick a movie that we want to philosophize or that we see a bunch of concepts in, and a movie that I've always wanted to philosophize because I've presented it as a movie for Philosophy Neighborhood at Baylor was Fantastic Mr. Fox by Wes Anderson. Oh, my people are here. Anyways, I wanted to do Fantastic Mr. Fox by Wes Anderson because it was one of the first movies I ever philosophized, and it was something that I could watch over and over and not only see more of what I believe, but see more of how the motifs and symbols reflect that. So I had to write an essay about it, and confession time. I wrote it the day before it was due. At least I started on it. I started the actual writing, but the research and everything, that was done in like November, because I wanted to do a YouTube video about it. But then I ended up not doing the YouTube video because I didn't know what direction to go towards. So being in the philosophy through film class really helped guide me. So I'll be talking about that. I'll read that and even share my corrections. But that brings me to my next point. How important it is when you're studying a discipline, how it's important to have a mentor or a supervisor of some sort, as they have in doctoral programs, to guide you in your studies so that you're not really lost in your work, and to also make sure you're very productive in a way that whatever you do produce can be useful to those who you're trying to create this work for. And I value this. That's why even though at times I think, you know what, I'm so driven to study things, I don't need to finish school, because I have that thought, even though it's not as heavy as it was before, because I can actually think and process these things instead of letting my emotions run me. But I understand that it's important to have guidance when studying something. But I will tell you that I am at a point where I could study something and be just on it for like hours, maybe even days, till I get sick of it. And that's kind of what I want to develop in people, that they are to know something so well that either there's nothing else to learn about it, or they have to now seek others for help, or they're just sick of the material because it's so repetitive at that point. I think learning should be so consuming and so submersive for the learner that it's like they're drowning in it. I don't know why. I just think that's a great life to live. But I say all this because I've been informed that I don't need a master's degree to have a doctorate degree. And I was told this about either in the spring semester or in the fall semester of this past academic year by Dr. Sadler. And I actually already know what I would want to write about due to a lot of my experiences and even my faith. I think what's important to me would be to write about love. So at this point, It's just a matter of knowing who can guide me and help me convey what I believe about love in the best way possible, while using that philosophy, concepts, and like just not saying my own things. I mean, I have an idea of how I would write my dissertation, because of the way that this channel is even formatted. I would want it to be something that someone could grasp at wherever you are in life. But yeah, I would need to find someone who could guide me and lead me in the direction I'm trying to go. And that is something that I'll be doing in the future. Well, not in the future, but when I am able to travel and talk to actual philosophy professors about my topic now, because I don't think I've really gotten to share this idea with people, because I wasn't really sure if I wanted to talk about love. I thought it wasn't deep enough for something that should change someone's life. I thought maybe philosophy needs to be more practical than the idea of love. But I've seen how much love can drive a person. I can see how it can be a very big topic and concept, I mean, to go through. So yeah, that's another thing I wanted to share. You know what, I'm gonna say this one too. So, another one, sorry, my cousins are bothering me. Another one that I want to talk about is how serendipity works. They're locking me outside. I wanted to talk about how serendipity works. Sometimes it's something that you see in passing, and then it occurs again. I believe that can be in people. I believe that can be in places. It can be in ideas. Something I will share is, because I'm not going to talk about the people aspect of it. I think that should wait. But as far as ideas, I had this idea about wanting to travel across the country in 2017. And I don't have the paper anymore, I lost it. But, I mean, I could find it, but I just don't know where it is right now. But I had this idea where I would travel across the U.S., university more specifically, to talk to college students about what advice they would give high schoolers. Because at that time, in the spring of 2017, I was towards the end of my freshman year of college at Baylor. And I was like, if only I knew, if only I knew better, maybe it would have been a different experience. And that idea sprouted into me wanting to be a traveling philosopher, because at that point I already found out by January 22nd that being a philosopher would be probably the direction career-wise that I'd be going. So I was like, okay, I guess I would be a traveling philosopher then. And I would research on it, and then I was like, okay, but how would that fund? So then I was coming up with maybe some YouTube ideas, and then I was like, but I need to have a channel in order to have that. I'm talking about sponsorships now. And yeah, I was basically kind of stuck. But then I was like, okay, what if I start a business? Then I begin to travel as a philosopher. But it's so funny because recently I have this friend, her name's Arletta. In passing in our conversations, because we'll have conversations like crazy, really good conversations too. In passing, she said, yeah, I want to have a bus. I want to live in a bus or something like that. And then when she said that, I was like, OMG, this is crazy. This is the idea I've had. But I'm not going to get overly excited, because one thing I've learned is that if you put an idea on someone that isn't really theirs to take, they're not really going to take it. It's going to be like, or if they do, they're only going to do it to a certain extent, to where if you're not in the picture, it's no longer fun for them, and it's not their idea, so it's not their thing. So I was very cautious about how I approached her, about what she said in passing. And we got really excited. Basically, it did seem like she wanted to do it. For her, it was more of a traveling to see the country, and I told her how I want to travel so I can talk to people. So it's like it kind of works together, and she wouldn't mind us doing that, because she's also a philosophy-minded person. But I also learned that we are very different people still. And it's not an issue. I mean, I'm sure that if this thing's to happen, it will happen. But this is why I believe it's important to be one-minded with whoever you are to partner in life with. It doesn't necessarily mean romantically, although that is the most close someone can get, because it's literally two becoming one. In marriage, at least it is. And that's the ultimate goal, I believe, for dating or to have a romantic relationship. It's because you want to be married, and not so you can get tax rights or whatever these people are talking about nowadays, but because you want to be in their life and you want to lead them into a good life, and you want them to lead you into a good life. And that means a life in truth, because that's one thing that is constant. So if someone's like, yeah, let's pursue truth, and you're like, yeah, let's pursue truth, but not as important as blah, 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 then there is a division in the mind, in the one mind, I believe, that a person should have. And I think that's important to consider when pursuing any career goals, any callings that you may have. If you have a calling, it's important that whoever you are to pursue this calling with, even if it's not like them actively being there, but it's them partially being there, you have to consider how influential that calling is to you and the person you're with. And now that we're on that topic, it's kind of why I don't see myself dating or getting married anytime soon. I mean, I can only see myself being friends with people. Because with friends, it's okay if y'all don't agree. It's not like it changes your life course. Of course, of course. But of course, if they are someone who's really close to your circle, you will care more, and it will be more intimate than even family. Because family, it's something that you can't really choose. But a friend, you do choose how close you get to them and how close they get to you, and by what grounds y'all are founded on. And it's that way with dating, with romantic relationships, exclusive monogamous relationships. It's that way, but even more, because this person you are married for life, right? Until death do we part. Which means you basically have to be one with that person until you die. And that should not be terrifying. If anything, that should be very comforting, that the marriage that you enter is one that should not be separated. And from something that's been quoted by people, so I can't say this is 100%, but something that's been quoted was, what God has made in heaven cannot be broken on earth, or something? I don't know. But that's comforting, that a marriage, if both parties believe that this is something founded on something outside of themselves, bigger than themselves, then there is no need to be insecure in that marriage. And I think it's the most beautiful relationship because it's something that really can't be broken. Which is what's very beautiful about how Jesus paints himself towards us as the church. And I also think about other things, like this illustration that was given in Philosophy Club one day, on Valentine's Day actually. In Philosophy Club, we were supposed to read the symposium. I kind of didn't, but I listened to it over and over as much as I could because I was still doing volleyball. And Mr. Gillespie's wife was there, and he painted this beautiful picture about him and his wife, how he compared them to like an atom where it's a proton and an electron. They can't be separated. The force that they have it doesn't allow them to. And I think that's so beautiful how even in science we can see that there are certain things that are meant to be bonded and not to be separated. I think that's so beautiful, and when he said that, it was so beautiful. And Arletta, when she quoted it again, I don't know if it was just so early in the morning that I was just so weak, I was just like, that's so beautiful. But yeah, like, love is a very powerful, special bond that is not, I don't think it's conventional. I don't think it's just human concept. It's linguistically, yeah, human conceived with the word to use for it. But the idea, it's objectively real, even if it's not humans. It's in the atoms. It's in magnets. Once again, the charge, the electronic charge. Something I learned actually about lightning is that lightning is when the clouds begin to separate in charge, where the positive and the negative charges separate in the cloud. And to balance again, there's lightning. And it could be within the cloud, or it can be between the cloud and the ground, because it's just trying to neutralize itself. I never knew that before, but I mean, not before, but before this video that I'm gonna put in here with these lightning strikes. I never knew that before then. I just knew that lightning was so beautiful and how it's so powerful. And even though it can be scary to be caught between the charges of lightning, some people can survive that stuff. And there are even stories where, like, this one guy miraculously got a gift now for playing piano. But besides that, just being able to survive something like that and to experience that electricity, it's incredible. But yeah, that's that about love. Something that I don't know if I've shared yet is that I want to focus on my discipline habits. I'll be going back to Baylor soon, and as of now I can't even take summer classes. I failed English class at community college, and because there was a deal that was made, I can't attend summer school. So what I was going to do there was I was going to take a math class, specifically Cal 2, to refresh myself. Turns out I need a lot more refreshing. I was just doing some Cal 1 homework, like on Monday. Now it's Wednesday, but I was doing some Cal 1 homework, and it was just like regular definition of derivatives, and I had to relearn conjugates. I had to relearn, not really learn, but just like get my brain thinking again about conjugates, common denominator, foiling, which isn't that hard because I've been reviewing FOIL with my cousins here, but it's like there are so many concepts, algebraic concepts that I have to review before I become a math major. And I don't know if I really want to be a math major. I just know that it will help me with my expression of philosophy and my ideas. For example, Arletta and I were talking about whether there is an absolute evil or an absolute good, and I told her, as far as evil is concerned, and as far as good is concerned, I do believe that they exist as black and white, and as humans we are experiencing the black and white, so we create this gray, I believe. But mathematically speaking, it's as if there are local maximums and local minimums, but overall in the function there is an absolute maximum and an absolute minimum, even if it is negative infinity being the minimum and positive infinity being the maximum. There is just absolutes in mathematics, and math being that perfect language of understanding the universe, it paints a picture of what reality is beyond just the material. I think it does talk about the immaterial. I believe it does talk about the immaterial, such as morality. And that does mean that, yeah, there is an absolute good and an absolute evil. And that there is a fine line. There is no black and white. I mean, there's no gray area. That's why fine line means it's simply divided, you know? And I mean, I've shared ideas on here before. There's a fine line between good and evil, and whether or not we agree with it, it does not change what's good and what's evil. I think the reason why we get frustrated as humans is because we do have that choice to, I mean, we have rationale, we have emotions, we have a conscience, but we also have free will, which means with this knowledge, we still get to choose. And I think that's what makes us people, that's what makes us so special from animals. Although, as what's his name, Wes Anderson has shown in his movies, where the animals are the central characters, they do have some personhood, but it's for the sake of telling the story. And I totally understand that artistic initiative there. But what makes us people is the fact that, yeah, we have rationale. We do have emotions. We do have sentience, which I've understood now is being able to experience stimulation, such as pain and pleasure. We also have consciousness. But I think another thing to consider important to what makes a person is free will. And it's something I know needs to be worked out carefully. But at the same time, like the definition of personhood, by the way, is what I'm talking about. But at the same time, even if a person isn't considered a person, there are moral responsibilities that persons do have. So even if I say being a person requires free will, and yeah, baby does not have free will, at that point, they're kind of just existing. We have a moral responsibility of life, and that goes into also ethics of intentions, which I actually tried to figure out because I was trying to figure out what my school of ethics is, but it's not ethics of intentions. Here's what I believe it is. What makes a good person a good person? A good person is someone who has knowledge of the good and the bad, good and evil. And they weigh the cons, they weigh the costs and the benefits of choosing the good or choosing the evil. And with that in mind, they still choose the good. And that even includes self-sacrifice if necessary. And why is that? Because they want to preserve the good. They're not trying to necessarily preserve their life, or an enemy's life, or a friend's life, or any specific life. Although, in most cases, preserving the truth, good, anything universally constant, it usually does involve preserving life. Sometimes it does take sacrifice, and only when people are founded on those constants are they willing to be good. So I'm not a utilitarian, because doing the most good may not always be good because of how it's done. I'm not a deontologist, because once again, that's being a rule follower, and following rules is not the goal of living life. I wouldn't say I'm a virtue ethics person. Well, I could be, but I just don't believe in the idea of the eudaimonia in the way that it's described as for the sake of joy. Because Epicurus interprets that differently, which is scary. But I believe life is more than just living happy and doing happy, I guess you could say. It's about bringing more to the situation, infusing life, which is something that only God could give. Jesus Christ came for that. That was something that I discovered recently from listening to a sermon by John MacArthur. And he was reading John chapter 1 verse 1 in the beginning, right? And apparently the original text, when he says that the light came to bring life, that life was not bios, it was not life as an emotional life, as in like you're emotionally fulfilled, but life that is spiritual, something that is outside of the material world. And that's just so beautiful. And I think that's something that not everyone can understand from the human perspective, which is why it's hard to want to make decisions in a spiritual way when you don't have those eyes to see spiritually. Only Jesus can give you that, you know? Everything else, it has this sort of a human lens. Even no offense, but Rastafarians. One of the things I know is that they have this religion to combat the white man's God. That's already division. Any person who comes as a savior, and I'm yet to find this out because I might be wrong, but as of now, any savior I understand outside of Jesus as a savior, a Messiah, they're coming to help people, yes, but not beyond what's here. They want to help a group. They want to help a group that they identify with. For example, this walkthrough that I watched like yesterday, I stayed up all night actually. It was like 5 something by the time I finished the walkthrough. 5 a.m. this morning. But I started watching it yesterday, and it was the walkthrough for Detroit Become Human. I watched Rad Brad's walkthrough, and as annoying as he was, there was so much imagery that I was seeing, and it was sort of delayed because I don't know, I just like to enjoy the story, but the brain doesn't stop, you know, when it comes to seeing things. And what was the part that I saw? Oh, it was Con. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. What I saw was how the central character for the androids, he was a savior, yes, but there was a certain message that he was speaking that was, and this is Rad Brat's version, not just any version, the parts 1 through 31. It was more about, yeah, having freedom for the androids. But it wasn't really about talking solutions, about coexisting. Like, he was saying let's coexist, but there wasn't any solutions, in the dialogue at least, that we could hear that. So, and that's just one example. I mean, I hope to analyze that one a little bit more than just this. But I mean, I've only watched the walkthrough once, so there's grace. And I love video games. Like, ugh. They're so good. Video games, I think, are a lot better at explaining philosophical concepts than movies sometimes. Because you are actively involved and you have to weigh the decisions yourself. Sorry, I don't want to be weird. Okay. But yeah, just so much to talk about. I'm gonna make sure that I get to at least share you my essay. And I'll keep you updated on how my self-studying for my dissertation, which will be in like more than 3 years, because it's going to probably take me 3 years to finish my bachelor's degree. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.